Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be also a little bit different. It is the intro of every single video of mine. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. This week I have been feeling very down, both physically and mentally. If I have to admit to myself that yes, that's what's been going on. So I thought that I would do something to cheer myself up and get you guys in on it as well. So as you guys know that I love reading books, and last summer I read a book which I loved so much. So I would love to reread that book, but the twist is I'm not going to tell you guys about the name or I will tell you the author. Then you, I think, can find the name of the book, but I myself am not going to tell you guys about the name of the book. But it has some really good descriptions of things, and Italy and summer and love and loss. So I thought that I would read some of my favorite paragraphs from that book, and you guys can listen to it, and I myself can enjoy it as well while I am reading it. And I love storytelling as a medium of art, so I think I will be reading some of the quotes from the book and some of the passages which I really love as well. Is the book visible? Probably not. I'm not trying to make it visible. So the book is in 4 parts, and the parts have like different names. I love the name of the first part, which is called If Not Later, When. Later, the word, the voice, the attitude. I'd never heard anyone use later to say goodbye before. It sounded harsh, curt, and dismissive, spoken with the veiled indifference of people who may not care to see or hear from you again. It is the first thing I remember about him, and I can hear it still today. Later. I shut my eyes, say the word, and I'm back in Italy. So many years ago, walking down the tree-lined driveway, watching him step out of the cab, billowy blue shirt, wide open collar, sunglasses, straw hat, skin everywhere. Suddenly he's shaking my hand, handing me his backpack, removing his suitcase from the trunk of the cab, asking if my father is home. It might have started right there and then. The shirt, the rolled up sleeves, the rounded balls of his heels slipping in and out of his frayed espadrilles, eager to taste the hot gravel path that led to our house. Every stride already asking, which way to the beach? The summer's house guest. Another bore. Then almost without thinking, and with his back already turned to the car, he waves the back of his free hand and utters a careless later to another passenger in the car who has probably split the fare from the station. No name added, no jest to smooth out the ruffled leave-taking, nothing. His one-word send-off, brisk, bold, and blunted. Take your pick. He couldn't be bothered which. You watch, I thought. This is how he'll say goodbye to us when the time comes, with a gruff, slapdash later. Meanwhile, we'd have to put up with him for 6 long weeks. I was thoroughly intimidated, the unapproachable sort. I could grow to like him though. from rounded sheen to rounded hill. Then within days I would learn to hate him. This, the very person whose photo on the application form months earlier had leapt out with promises of instant affinities. This is the first page and a half of the book. I thought I would read what the story starts, how the story starts, and then I would go to the places and which I love and which I have highlighted, and I would read those paragraphs and sentences. He was going to be a difficult neighbor. Better stay away from him, I thought. To think that I had almost fallen for the skin of his hands, his chest, his feet, that have never touched a rough surface in their existence, and his eyes, which, when their other, kinder gaze fell on you, came like the miracle of the resurrection. You could never stare long enough, but needed to keep staring to find out why you couldn't. So good. This line is one of my favorites of the book. You could never stare long enough, but needed to keep staring to find out why you couldn't. Today, the pain, the stoking, the thrill of someone new, the promise of so much bliss hovering a fingertip away, the fumbling around people I might misread and don't want to lose and must second guess at every turn, the desperate cunning I bring to everyone I want and crave to be wanted by, the screens I put up as though between me and the world there were not just one but layers of rice paper sliding doors, the urge to scramble and unscramble what was never really coded in the first place. The descriptions of this book is something really outwardly and very, very poetic, and I love it so much. So this is who he also is, I said to myself after seeing how he'd flipped from ice to sunshine. I might as well have asked, do I flip back and forth in just the same way? P.S. We are not written for one instrument alone. I am not, neither are you. So good. Not a fire of passion, not a ravaging fire, but something paralyzing like the fire of cluster bombs that suck up the oxygen around them and leave you panting because you've been kicked in the gut and a vacuum has ripped up every living lung tissue and dried your mouth, and you hope nobody speaks because you can't talk, and you pray no one asks you to move because your heart is clogged and beats so fast it would sooner spit out shards of glass than let anything else flow through its narrowed chambers. Oh God, this book was so good when I read it, and it is always good when I reread it and go back, and it is just amazing. Is this why people say maybe when they mean yes, but hope you think it's no, when all they really mean is please just ask me once more, and once more after that? I love this conversation between the two main characters. Elio, yes? What are you doing? Reading? No, you're not. Thinking then. About? I was dying to tell him. Private, I replied. So you won't tell me? So I won't tell you. So he won't tell me, he repeated, pensively, as if explaining to someone about me. What did I want? And why couldn't I know what I wanted. Even when I was perfectly ready to be brutal in my admissions, perhaps the very least I wanted was for him to tell me that there was nothing wrong with me, that I was no less human than any other young man my age. I would have been satisfied and asked for nothing else than if he'd bent down and picked up the dignity I could so effortlessly have thrown at his feet. Love, which exempts no one who's loved from loving. Frances' words in the Inferno. Just wait and be hopeful. I was hopeful though. Perhaps this was what I had wanted all along, to wait forever. He was baffled to know that apricot trees existed in, of all places, our orchard. On late afternoons, when there was nothing to do in the house, Mafalda would ask him to climb a ladder with a basket and pick those fruits that were almost blushing with shame, she said. He would joke in Italian, pick one out and ask, "Is this one blushing with shame?" "No," she would say, "this one is too young still. Youth has no shame. Shame comes with age." What he did in his private life and his time was his business. If youth must canter, then who'll do the galloping, was my father's clumsy adage. In our household, Oliver could do no wrong. Since my parents never paid any attention to his absences, I thought it was safer never to show that they caused me any anxiety. I mentioned his absence only when one of them wondered where he'd been. I would pretend to look as startled as they were. "Oh, that's right, he's been gone too long." No idea. And I had to worry not to look too startled either, for that might ring false and alert them to what was eating at me. They'd know bad faith as soon as they spotted it. I was surprised they hadn't already. They had always said I got too easily attached to people. This summer, though, I finally realized what they meant by being too easily attached. Obviously, it had happened before, and they must have already picked up on it when I was probably too young to notice anything myself. It had sent alarming ripples through their lives. They worried for me. I knew they were right to worry. I just hoped they'd never know how far things stood beyond their ordinary worries now. I knew they didn't suspect a thing, and it bothered me, though I wouldn't have wanted it otherwise. It told me that if I were no longer transparent and could disguise so much of my life, then I was finally safe from them and from him. But at what price? And did I want to be so safe from anyone? While reading in my father's library one evening, I came upon the story of a handsome young knight who is madly in love with a princess. She too is in love with him, though she seems not to be entirely aware of it, and despite the friendship that blossoms between them, or perhaps because of that very friendship, he finds himself so humbled and speechless owing to her forbidding candor that he is totally unable to bring up the subject of his love. One day he asks her point blank, "Is it better to speak or to die?" I'd never even have the courage to ask such a question. This book is so good. I promised that I would tell you guys about the author's name, and the name of the author is Andre Aciman. So I guess you can find the name of the book because I think I've told their names as well while reading it as well. So I spoiled it, I think. I guess everyone knows what book I was reading just now. Thank you so much if you listened to my short audiobook, the parts. Those were not my most favorite parts, but like those were one of the most memorable parts of the book, and the whole book is like written like a poetry, and it feels like you are living in a poem while you read the book. So I will highly recommend, if you know the author Ant Richman, check out his works, and his most famous one is the one that I just read. And I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you very soon next week with something more exciting than this, but this is exciting to me, and I was not hoping to make this type of video this week. I was planning to make something else, but I did not, so I am sorry for that, and I hope to see you next week and with something further more exciting. Till then, stay happy and stay motivated, and see you in the next one. Goodbye. And also, please comment down below if you would like to see a part 2 or part 3 of this. Please comment down.